Imagine you're running a business with 100 different metrics: revenue, profit margin, customer satisfaction, employee turnover, marketing spend, inventory levels, customer retention, and dozens more. The problem isn't collecting data. The problem is understanding it. Executives don't have time to analyze 100 dashboards. They need clarity. They need focus. They need decisions. What if 100 metrics could be transformed into just 3 meaningful insights? Business performance, customer experience, operational efficiency. That's exactly what Principal Component Analysis, PCA, helps organizations do. Today, we'll explore how PCA works, how companies use it, how AI and Python can accelerate the process, and how analysts turn complex data into executive decisions. But first, what exactly is PCA? What PCA really is. Think of PCA as a way to organize information. Imagine a closet filled with boxes. Everything is important, but it's messy, crowded, and difficult to understand. Business data often looks the same way. Many metrics overlap and tell similar stories. PCA looks beneath the surface and identifies the hidden patterns connecting those metrics. Then, it groups them into a few meaningful dimensions. For example, growth, customer experience, operational efficiency. In simple terms, PCA compresses information while preserving as much meaning as possible. It helps us focus on what matters most instead of getting lost in hundreds of individual variables. Now that we know what PCA is, let's look at why companies use it in the real world. Why companies use PCA? Organizations collect more data than ever before. The problem isn't finding information. The problem is making sense of it. Executives don't have time to analyze hundreds of charts, reports, and dashboards. They need to understand what really drives the business. PCA helps by reducing complexity, identifying hidden drivers, uncovering patterns, and transforming hundreds of metrics into a small number of meaningful business dimensions. The result is clearer conversations, smarter decisions, and better alignment across the organization. In short, PCA helps companies move from data overload to focused action. But PCA isn't the right solution for every situation. So before we go further, let's discuss when PCA should be used and when it shouldn't. When should you use PCA? Use PCA when you have lots of numerical variables and many of them appear related. PCA is especially useful when you're overwhelmed by metrics and need a simpler way to understand what's really happening. It works well for business scorecards, customer analytics, marketing performance, financial analysis, operational excellence, employee engagement, and risk management. The goal is simple: take many variables, find the hidden patterns connecting them, and reduce complexity into a few meaningful business dimensions. If you need clarity from a large collection of correlated metrics, PCA is often the right tool. Of course, PCA isn't always the right answer. Let's look at situations where you should avoid using PCA. When not to use PCA. PCA is powerful, but it isn't always the right tool. If you only have a few variables, PCA usually won't add much value. If interpretability is absolutely critical, executives may prefer the original metrics instead of PCA components. PCA also works best with numerical data, so it may not be appropriate when most variables are categorical. And remember, PCA reveals patterns and structure, but it does not prove cause and effect. The bottom line is simple: use PCA when it helps simplify complexity. Avoid PCA when a simpler or more appropriate method can answer the question more directly. Now that we understand when PCA should and shouldn't be used, let's look at a real enterprise example. Real enterprise example. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a retail company tracking dozens of business metrics: revenue, profit, customer satisfaction, customer retention, marketing performance, inventory turnover, delivery times, and many more. At first, the data appears overwhelming, but PCA discovers hidden patterns beneath the surface. In this example, the metrics naturally group into three major dimensions: business performance, customer experience, and operational efficiency. Together, these three dimensions explain most of what is happening across the organization. Instead of managing 100 separate metrics, leaders can focus on the few factors that matter most. That's the power of PCA, turning data overload into strategic focus. Now let's see how artificial intelligence can help accelerate the PCA workflow even before we start the analysis. How AI helps PCA has traditionally required a significant amount of manual effort. Analysts must identify variables, clean data, interpret results, and communicate findings. This is where AI becomes valuable. Tools such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and open-source models can help accelerate the entire workflow. AI can assist with variable selection, data preparation, interpretation, insight generation, and executive storytelling. The goal isn't to replace statistical analysis. The goal is to help analysts work faster, communicate more clearly, and focus on what matters most. Think of AI as a force multiplier throughout the PCA process. Let's start at the beginning of the workflow and see how AI can help identify the right variables before PCA even begins. Using AI to choose the right variables. Before running PCA, we need to decide which variables belong in the analysis. This is where AI can save a tremendous amount of time. Instead of manually reviewing dozens or hundreds of metrics, we can ask AI to group similar variables, identify duplicates, highlight redundancies, and suggest business categories. In this example, AI organizes 75 metrics into meaningful groups such as financial metrics, customer metrics, operations metrics, marketing metrics, and human resources metrics. The goal isn't to let AI make the decision. The goal is to accelerate discovery and help us build a cleaner, more focused set of variables for PCA. Once we've selected the variables, the next question becomes, how do we interpret the results after PCA is complete? Using AI to interpret PCA results. Running PCA is only half the challenge. The real value comes from interpretation. Here, we see a component heavily influenced by revenue, profit, retention, and growth. An analyst can provide these loadings to AI and ask, what business concept does this component represent? AI reviews the strongest drivers and suggests a meaningful interpretation. In this example, it identifies a business growth and performance index. AI can also generate executive-friendly explanations, suggested wording, and summary statements. The analyst still makes the final decision, but AI dramatically accelerates the process of turning mathematical outputs into business understanding. In short, AI helps bridge the gap between statistics and strategy. And once AI understands the results, it can also help generate executive-ready talking points and presentations. Using AI to generate executive talking points. Once PCA results have been interpreted, AI can help transform technical findings into executive-ready communication. Instead of presenting loadings, variance tables, and statistical terminology, AI can generate concise summaries, key takeaways, recommendations, risks, and next steps. In minutes, complex analytical outputs become boardroom-ready talking points. The analyst still validates the content, but AI dramatically accelerates the process of turning analysis into action. The result is clearer communication, stronger alignment, and more effective decision-making. Now that we've seen how AI can assist before and after PCA, let's walk through the foundation of every successful PCA project, preparing the data correctly. Data preparation. Before PCA can begin, the data must be prepared properly. Data often comes from databases, spreadsheets, cloud warehouses, and business applications. The next step is cleaning and standardizing the information. Remove duplicates. Handle missing values. Standardize units. Normalize scales, and verify data quality. This is critical because PCA is sensitive to scale. If one variable ranges from 0 to 10 and another ranges from 0 to 100,000, the larger variable can dominate the analysis. Good data preparation leads to reliable insights. Poor data preparation leads to misleading conclusions. Simply put, better data in, better decisions out. Once the data is clean, standardized, and ready for analysis, it's time to run PCA in Python. Python implementation. PCA made simple. Once the data is prepared, Python makes PCA surprisingly simple. Using libraries such as Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn, and matplotlib, the entire workflow can be completed in just a few steps. First, load the data into a data frame. Next, standardize the variables so every metric contributes fairly. Then, run PCA to extract the principal components. Finally, visualize the results using charts and plots. In only a few lines of code, we've transformed more than 100 metrics into a small number of meaningful dimensions. The result is less complexity, clearer patterns, and better decision support. Python handles the computation. The analyst focuses on interpretation and business value. But what exactly does PCA produce? Let's examine the outputs that come back from Python and how they help us understand the business. Understanding PCA outputs. Once PCA finishes running, it doesn't return a single answer. It produces several outputs, each serving a different purpose. Explained variance tells us how much information each component captures. The loadings matrix tells us which variables drive each component. Component scores show where each observation sits in the new PCA space. Visualizations help reveal patterns, relationships, and clusters. And finally, these outputs can be combined into dashboards and business insights. Think of PCA as producing a toolkit rather than a single report. Together, these outputs provide the foundation for interpretation, storytelling, and better decision-making. Let's take a closer look at the visualizations executives and decision-makers find most useful. PCA visualizations for executives. One reason PCA is so powerful is that it creates visualizations leaders can quickly understand. A scree plot shows how much information each component captures. A loading heat map reveals which variables drive each component. Scatter plots help identify relationships and natural groupings. Cluster diagrams uncover segments that may require different strategies. And executive scorecards transform PCA dimensions into simple, trackable business measures. The goal isn't to impress people with mathematics. The goal is to reveal patterns, risks, opportunities, and priorities as quickly as possible. Now let's see how organizations take these PCA outputs and transform them into executive dashboards that support ongoing decision-making. Building an executive dashboard with PCA. One of the most powerful applications of PCA is the executive dashboard. Instead of displaying dozens or even hundreds of individual metrics, PCA allows organizations to monitor a few high-level business dimensions. In this example, leaders track 3 PCA-derived indices: business growth, customer experience, and operational efficiency. These dimensions can be monitored over time, compared across regions, business units, or product lines, and connected directly to recommendations and actions. The result is a dashboard that is simpler, easier to understand, and far more actionable. This is where PCA moves beyond analysis and becomes a practical decision support tool. Now that we've seen how PCA results can be presented, let's discuss the most important step of all: interpreting what those components actually mean. Interpreting PCA. PCA gives us the mathematics, but it does not provide the business meaning. That's the analyst's job. Look at the variables with the strongest positive or negative loadings. Group related variables together, then assign a meaningful business label. For example, revenue, profit, retention, growth may become Business Growth Index, customer satisfaction, Net Promoter Score, and service quality may become Customer Experience Index. The mathematics identifies the pattern. Humans provide the interpretation, and that's where PCA becomes useful for decision-making. Using AI to explain explained variance. One of the most challenging concepts in PCA is explained variance. Statisticians understand it immediately. Executives often do not. In this example, the first three components explain 80% of the total variance. AI can help translate that into business language. Instead of saying, the first three components explain 80% of the variance, you might say, three major business themes explain most of the behavior observed across 100 metrics. Same mathematics, much clearer communication, and that's where AI adds value. It helps bridge the gap between technical analysis and business understanding. Using AI to interpret PCA loadings. Loadings tell us which variables drive each component. The challenge is turning those numbers into business meaning. AI can help accelerate that process. For example, revenue, profit, growth, and retention may be interpreted as a business growth index. Customer satisfaction, Net Promoter Score, and service quality may become a customer experience index. The analyst still makes the final decision, but AI helps translate complex loading tables into clear business themes that executives can understand. Using AI to generate insights from results. Running PCA is only the beginning. The real value comes from understanding what the results mean. AI can help identify patterns, risks, opportunities, and areas that deserve attention. In this example, growth appears strong. Customer experience may be at risk. Operational efficiency remains stable. AI can also suggest questions worth investigating and highlight priority areas for action. The goal isn't to replace human judgment. It's to move from data to insight faster. Using AI to generate executive summaries. Different audiences need different messages. A data scientist may want technical details. An executive may want a 1-minute summary. AI can transform PCA results into audience-specific communication. Executive summaries, boardroom briefings, project updates, PowerPoint bullet points, email summaries, and presentation talking points. The analysis stays the same, only the communication changes. AI helps deliver the right message to the right audience. Using AI to generate actionable recommendations. Insights are valuable. Actions create results. Once PCA identifies the key drivers, AI can help generate recommendation candidates. For example, if customer experience is declining, AI may suggest improving service quality, strengthening retention programs, or investigating customer complaints. If growth is strong, AI may recommend investing in the factors driving that success. The recommendations aren't automatically correct. They must be reviewed and validated, but AI helps move from analysis to action much faster. Using AI to create a complete executive story. This is where everything comes together. Python performs the analysis. PCA identifies the key dimensions. AI helps explain the results. Generate insights. Draft summaries. And suggest recommendations. The final outcome isn't a chart. It's a story. A story that helps leaders understand what is happening, why it matters, and what actions to take next. That's how data becomes business impact. Real executive presentation example. Let's compare two presentations. On the left, we have a traditional PCA presentation. Loadings, variance tables, scatter plots. Technically correct, but difficult for executives to absorb. On the right, we have the same analysis translated into business language. Growth is improving, customer experience is declining, operations are stable, and there is a clear recommendation. Same data, same PCA, very different impact. The goal isn't to impress executives with statistics. The goal is to help them make better decisions. Telling stories to executives. Great analysis means nothing if it doesn't drive action. Executives don't need every detail. They need clarity, they need relevance, and they need to know what happens next. A simple framework works well. Provide the context, share the key insight, explain the business impact, make a recommendation, and define the next step. Remember, lead with the insight, keep it simple, focus on business outcomes, and always end with a clear call to action. Common PCA mistakes. PCA is powerful, but a few common mistakes can quickly reduce its value. Not standardizing variables, keeping too many components, keeping too few, ignoring business context, treating PCA as causation, or presenting mathematics instead of insights. The best PCA projects combine good data, sound methodology, business interpretation, and clear communication. Remember, the goal isn't better statistics. The goal is better decisions. PCA limitations. Powerful, not magic. PCA is a powerful tool, but it isn't magic. PCA can reveal patterns, it can simplify complexity, and it can help focus attention on what matters most. But PCA does not prove causation. It does not predict the future, and it does not replace business judgment. Think of PCA as a flashlight. It helps illuminate the important patterns in the data. Humans still decide what those patterns mean and what actions to take. The best results come from combining statistics with experience, context, and critical thinking. Conclusion: let's bring everything together. PCA helps transform complexity into clarity. It reveals patterns, highlights what matters most, and helps organizations focus on better decisions. Combined with Python and AI, PCA becomes more than a statistical technique. It becomes a practical framework for turning data into insight, insight into action, and action into results. Simplify. Understand. Communicate. That's how data creates value. PCA cheat sheet. Before we finish, here's a simple PCA framework you can remember. Gather and understand your data. Standardize your variables. Run PCA. Review, explain variance. Interpret the loadings. Create meaningful business themes. Generate insights. Build recommendations. And finally, tell the executive story. If you can follow those 9 steps, you'll be well on your way to turning complex data into actionable business decisions. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you understand how PCA, Python, and AI can work together to transform complex data into meaningful business insight. If you found this content valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who work with data, analytics, project management, or decision-making. And remember, the goal isn't to collect more data. The goal is to make better decisions. Thank you for supporting SRR Strategic Intelligence. Appendix 1. The math behind PCA. For those interested in the mathematics, PCA identifies new directions in the data that capture the maximum amount of variance. These directions are called principal components. Mathematically, they are derived from eigenvectors. The amount of information captured by each component is represented by its eigenvalue. The first principal component captures the most variance. The second captures the next largest amount, and so on. The result is a new set of uncorrelated dimensions that summarize the original data more efficiently. Appendix 2. Explain variance in PCA. One of the most important PCA outputs is explain variance. Each bar shows how much information a component captures. The cumulative line shows how much information has been captured so far. In practice, analysts often keep enough components to explain roughly 70 to 90% of the total variance. The goal is simple: capture as much information as possible with as few components as possible. That's what makes PCA such an effective tool for reducing complexity. Appendix 3. Loadings Matrix. The loadings matrix shows how strongly each variable contributes to each principal component. Large positive or negative loadings indicate the variables that matter most. In this example, PC1 is driven by business growth metrics. PC2 is driven by customer experience metrics, and PC3 is driven by operational efficiency metrics. This is often where PCA becomes useful to the business, because loadings help transform mathematical components into meaningful business themes. Appendix 4. From PCA to Executive Story. PCA alone doesn't create business value. Business value comes from interpretation and action. The process is straightforward. Start with the technical outputs. Identify meaningful business themes. Develop recommendations and translate those recommendations into executive decisions. In other words, PCA provides the structure. Human insight creates the story, and the story drives action.